So, this season was pretty fun. I missed a lot of the in-between since the first release of multiplayer to Last Epoch. So I played on that initial release, and I hadn't played anything until now. So I missed all the changes that involved things like the Weaver echoes to the tree, and a lot of the player agency, some of the rune options, namely the big runes, which are like incredibly impactful. Rune of Havoc, Rune of Redemption. I hadn't used them prior to this update, so it was kind of interesting to play around with those and set up some items for crafting. So I guess before I start reviewing the season, I should give some context to what I played and some of the things that might have impacted my perspective on it, because obviously that's all this is my perspective and what I enjoyed and what I didn't enjoy in this season. So I played the Beastmaster Bear character, where effectively you are a support for the bear that runs around and you attack enemies, debuffing them and granting buffs to your bear. So it's all bear scaling. It is notoriously the worst clearing build in this season in terms of the strong meta builds. However, in Epoch, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, in other faster-paced ARPGs with far more monster density, with far more deadly things that happen if you don't kill the large packs of nothing enemies, it's a lot more problematic to have this kind of clear, but it was kind of fine. It's not as fast as the other builds, however, between Fury Leap and 101% movement speed, it's not too bad to clear. It still easily completes the most prevalent strategy that apparently existed in the last iteration or two of Epoch as well. The most prevalent thing, of course, being Lost Folly juicing your false temples. And I'll roll some footage here of me playing the content on the bear build. It's fine. It's obviously heavily outshined by builds with absolutely incredible clear, builds that can kill screens and still move at upwards of 100 movement speed. However, it's not terrible. Like, I can Fury Leap to each pack, and so long as the bear is in his defensive stance, the AI will pull him back to me should he get too far off the screen. So it didn't feel awful to clear. And even on the bear build, where my clear is slower, that was just the most impactful strategy that you could pretty much farm for most of the time that I was playing. If you want to generate lots of favor and lots of XP very, very quickly, I don't think there's anything that even comes close to that. Now, you're getting monolith rewards less frequently than if you were just mono blasting, in terms of only killing rares and then going to complete the objective on a mono to get the mono reward and progress the echo and then the subsequent echoes. So as far as those rewards, you miss out, but a lot of your rewards, a lot of the things that are going to impact your build are going to come from favor if you're COF. So this strategy is just, it's too insane not to do. And so I spent a fair bit of time farming that out, made maxing COF really easy, made hitting 100 extremely easy, even on what many people believe is the slowest of the strong builds of this league, which I agree on. It is definitely the slowest of the builds that I've seen be able to complete high-tier content. I was able to kill Uber Aberoth. Unfortunately, couldn't attribute it to anything provided to me by this season's exclusive content. I guess I should hop right into the Rift Beast, because as cool as it was, as much novelty as there was for your first few encounters, it very quickly became a samey fight. The Rift Beast didn't carry anywhere near the kind of threat that a Harbinger does for your first Harbinger experiences. It doesn't have the same amount of threat as a Shade of Oribus or any other sort of boss, and so it seemed like it was framed to be, there's this boss or mini-boss that you're going to encounter in your echoes that you can then have a fight against and then get a whole pile of important exclusive loot to then have access to the new uniques or whatever, what have you. And to me, it didn't feel like it had a lot of impact on my gameplay. Outside of farming for this relic, the Reliquary Nest, I didn't really find a lot of use in interacting with the Rift Beast, which was kind of unfortunate. The other thing, and the thing that I think harmed this mechanic for me the most, is if you are doing the thing that is the most impactful that I talked about earlier for your progression as a COF player, Lostwood Folly into False Temple, which is shrine juicing, then you don't see Rift Beasts. They don't spawn on Weaver Echoes, which I think really, really harmed the mechanic in my eyes, because there's so much incentive in the game now to design and build your own echo web and try to get the maximum for your investment, right? Putting in all the juice, using the Weaver tree to generate potentially more amber, which you can spend on echo nodes, and custom build your endgame the way you want to. And then for whatever reason, the season exclusive mechanic doesn't appear in those echoes, which is very strange, because then it feels like it's playing tug of war with with a core game mechanic at this point, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to have to choose, right? I have to not see the season mechanic because I'm doing something which is really incentivized to do, and so it kind of felt like a poor implementation just from that. And if you give a player an option between doing the juiciest, fastest, potentially most rewarding content in the game, or interact with a Rift Beast that may or may not even have a unique you care about, it's not even going to be a discussion. The players are going to instantly choose the juicier, more rewarding thing over the mechanic, and again, I feel like that's a bad feeling as a gameplay loop, is I have to choose this mechanic versus the other things I want to do when it's the theme of the season, right? The theme is interacting with the prehistoric enemies, fighting the Rift Beast, basically engaging with dinosaurs. So I wish we saw them everywhere, and I also wish they appeared in every area. I wish maybe they could have tweaked some numbers. I don't know, but I think I should have been seeing dinosaurs in every area, at least the Rift Beast in every area. It would have been, or maybe the Rift Beast buddies show up, right? Maybe he spawns some juiced T-Rexes who are like the Rift Beast's pals who you've angered have come to attack you. I don't know, but some other implementation that got me to see more of the mechanic would have been really nice. Outside of the mechanic, I think there's just in general some problems with Last Epoch's endgame, and I think this revolves around core ideologies, and so I think it's important to contextualize any sort of criticism on an endgame of an ARPG, and first set the groundwork of what is important, what is the value, what is the goal of the game and the implementation of mechanics, which kind of goes down a deep rabbit hole. But just to summarize really quickly, I think Last Epoch as an ARPG does a really good job of having accessible crafting mechanics, a very easy build dynamics. Everything is very understandable. I think most of the skills and interactions and synergies can kind of be understood surface level and aren't overly convoluted. The in-game guide makes it very easy, and I think all of these together make the game a phenomenal ARPG. I would say the best ARPG to introduce someone to if they were going to play an ARPG for the first time ever. I think Last Epoch does that better than any other ARPG. I think all of the early crafting systems, even into some of the later, more complex things, are very easy to understand. There's not a lot of fluff. There's not a lot of just convoluted mechanics that don't make any sense at all until you're down this niche 17 or 18 step path, right? I also think the rewards, I think the echoes, I think all of the monoliths are very easy to navigate. I think it's easy to understand what it's doing in terms of the modifiers, and I think it's easy to understand what kind of loot you should expect by going into them. So all of that together I feel like is really nice. I think for COF, they do a really good job of making it hyper rewarding. I think there's still glaring issues with the Merchants Guild, despite not playing it. I think that there's just so much implementation that needs to be changed. A lot of it might be related to player base. The incentive to play Merchants Guild is pretty low in this game because a lot of the people who are playing this are okay with just grinding for their stuff anyways, and you're so heavily rewarded for being Circle of Fortune. I think currently, if the game's goal is to be an accessible ARPG, it is successfully doing all of the core things. I think it's currently lacking in terms of seasonal updates, in terms of adding things to do. Because right now, nothing has really changed in terms of the end game. The end game is blast monoliths till the end of time, fix any pitfalls of your build, improve the strengths, shore up the weaknesses, and corruption stack or challenge Uber Aberoth. And it's incredibly one-dimensional in terms of the end game. And this season didn't really add anything at all to change that, right? There's no extra interaction. There's no alternate endgame routing. The path to playing the late game, the path to improving your character and doing other things has remained stagnant for the past few updates. And while I think the game still feels incredible to play, it respects the player's time and everything, I think this season was meh. It was meh because it didn't add enough. All that being said, for the short time that I played it, I really did enjoy playing this season, in large part due to the mechanics that were added previously. The Rift Beasts were cool to interact with for a short period of time, and this unique, the other uniques in the shop as well, had some pretty cool strengths that you can play around. It was a good time, and I think that if Epoch just wants to be like a 1 week, 2 week on release experience, then this is on par with that.